Okay, everyone, welcome to the ABL review. This is going to be slightly different than what I've been doing. I'm specifically focusing on playoffs for the North right now. I'll do an episode very similar to this when the South begins their playoffs in 2 weeks. But I'm going to hop into this. Now, you may be looking at this and going like, hey, wait a minute. These standings don't look right. And you're correct. These are the standings reflecting week 6. I'm going to kind of go on a journey here, and we're going to go through chronologically of the battles that happened, and we're going to talk about the impact that they had. This isn't going to be my typical, unedited oneer style podcast that I've been doing for the past, honestly, probably a few years now. I'm going to make sure this is cut up, and mostly for ease of recording, because I can just record a small batch instead of one big batch. So, here we go, let's get into it. This is the road to the playoffs in the ABL Season 23 North. So, what I want to focus on here, first of all, you have 4 teams at 4-2 coming into this week. That's honestly kind of unheard of, that many teams vying for a potential number 1 spot going into this. And honestly, there's a lot of conflicting tiebreakers here. You have 2 teams with tiebreakers over Brett, 2 teams with tiebreakers over Drew, 2 teams with tiebreakers over Zach, but somehow Zach has managed to beat all 4 of these teams. So Zach is in a power position here. He wins and he's guaranteed the first overall seed. And honestly, that's the game we're gonna talk about first. Him versus Dakota. Dakota on the other end of the spectrum, with 1 win and 5 losses. I don't think, there's not even a universe where he is able to avoid relegation. Dakota is going back to the South. Blackburn Snover will make their South debut next season. I believe that's correct. I don't think he had switched teams up to that point. So, not a lot to win here. Dakota can just play spoiler, really. That's all he can do. He can keep Zach from getting the number 1 seed. That's his goal in this, and we'll hop into that in a second here. So here we are with Dakota versus Zach. Team preview, I think. So we got Keldeo, which is generally a big threat, but it's got some things that can kind of clip its wings a little bit here. Obviously, you got Tornadus here. Based on how Zach plays it, I think it becomes pretty obvious that it's Assault Vest. That's a great answer to Keldeo, so I think that's going to work out well. He's got a really solid answer to Salamence in both Bronzong and Darkspun here. Bronzong is probably mostly going to be working as a check to the Bear Tick. And on Dakota's side of the field, I think it's interesting he doesn't have any hazard clearing, and there's a Hisuian Samurott there. So that's something he's going to have to worry about. I think it's pretty clear that this Diancie is his Iron Moth switch in. And I think Dakota's game plan here is just kind of punish with offense. You have 3 pretty big offensive threats, and you have support for those in a couple of checks. And then also Orthworm is here. So let's hop into the battle. So we get the lead of Orthworm versus this Iron Moth, and we see the Terra Water right away. Obviously, this is trying to live a fire move that comes out. Just trying to maybe get a cheeky quick kill on this Iron Moth here with an Earthquake. This Iron Moth predicts that this Orthworm would switch into Diancie, which I do think makes a lot of sense. And he's just going to U-turn out as the Orthworm Terras. And it's going to fire off an Earthquake. Good prediction by Zach. Pretty obvious call there. Gets into the Tornadus. Going to knock off this Orthworm. Again, predicting it that it should probably switch, but Dakota's just going to stay in. Maybe he's identified that this Orthworm is not a big benefit in this matchup, and he's just going to do what he can here. Going to go ahead and get up the Stealth Rocks. And Bleakwind Storm is going to nearly take out the Orthworm on the Coil on turn 3 here. I don't get the Coil play. The only reason you're going for Coil here is if you think he's going to U-turn out, or he's purely physical, or you don't have another attacking move. Like, I don't know. Uncertain. I would have assumed because if he had a Steel move, I guess that's what you'd go for. I don't like the Coil play out of Dakota. And he's going to end up reserving this Orthworm in the back as a result of it. He's going to go into the Slow King here. He's going to get his, leftovers? Leftovers knocked off as a Chilly Reception out. And this is where Dakota really tries to set up shop. He's got the Bear Tick in versus, you know, we'll get into it. So he's going to go ahead and set up a Sword Stance right here. Good call. Bronzong comes in, but he is ready with the Crunch. Huge damage to this Bronzong and the defense drop. Body press between the defense drop, making it do less, and Bear Tick gets a defense boost in the snow. Takes very little damage from that. He's set up for another hit. And we are going to see him follow up with another really safe Crunch. Can't miss it, but obviously the Doxbone is going to be able to come out and take it. Would have liked to see Dakota get aggressive and go for an Icicle Crash there, but really not the end of the world. Gets another defense drop even, so Icicle Crash is like guaranteed to KO, even more guaranteed because the Bronzong. That's why he could have gone for it the turn before. With a defense drop, he was guaranteed to KO the Bronzong from where it was at. I guess not guaranteed, he's got a 10% chance to miss it, but much bigger upside if there's a switch. Little critiques, because, you know, he's ahead in the game versus Zach pretty early on. Great Tusk is going to come in, we're going to see the Booster Energy activate, and he's going to recognize there's no Ghost here, and he's going to go ahead and fire off a Close Combat. And then the Keldeo is going to come in. Now, Keldeo is obviously going to threaten this out, not only just because of the dropped defenses, but great tight matchup. The only water resist on this team is Hisuian Samurott, which isn't super sturdy. So, and it's also weak to his other stabs, so you're probably going to check it with this Tornadus. Dakota, nice aggressive flip turn there, is going to get out into Diancie. And he's going to get U-turned on as he fires off a, here it comes, Diamond Storm. Now, that's 4x resisted, but the cool thing is we get this defense boost, which is going to pretty much, unless this Great Tusk has a steel move, this Diancie's not super threatened right now. Zach's going to take the opportunity to Rapid Spin, get rid of these rocks now that probably Dakota's Rocker is gone, but it's going to cost him a whole ass Great Tusk. That's obviously not a good spot for him. And this Hisuian Samurott's going to come in, and it is going to use the high crit ratio move Razor Shell and get the KO. I'm going to assume that crit would have KO'd anyways. Like, Razor Shell from Hisuian Samurott is quite strong. I know it's a +2 Diancie, but I think that might have KO'd anyways. Hard to say for certain. But let's just say it KO'd anyways, so that way we can say this one wasn't hacked. So now we're at a pretty even spot. Most of the stuff on Zach's team is relatively healthy, and most of the stuff on Dakota's team is relatively healthy. The Slow King's a little bit low, but it's going to come in higher because of Regenerator and whatnot. Going to get the Keldeo coming in. He's going to fire off, I believe. Okay. Hydro Pump there. So I think that was a good prediction, try to catch the Tornadus. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off. And we're going to see him hard switch out into the Galarian Slow King. I believe we see another Chilly Reception here. Nope, Thunder Wave. Okay. So we see the Thunder Wave come out, slow down this Tornadus. That's super big. Everything with the exception of Slow King now outspeeds the Tornadus. That's pretty important. And that also means he's going to be able to kind of safely pivot around, like, he's going to be able to safely work around this thing now, hopefully get some free turns. That's why you use Paralysis, honestly, at this point. I would love it if it was just speed control, but sometimes you throw out a T-Wave just hoping you get some turns back, right? So hard switch out into the Salamence as the knockoff comes out, gets rid of the heavy-duty boots, but that's honestly not a big deal because the Rocker on Zach's team is gone. And there is a Spiker, sure, but he doesn't have the Salamence is not touching the ground, so it kind of doesn't make a big difference for him. We're gonna see the Doxbun come out. That's gonna be the easy check to this Salamence going forward. Even though we do see the Dragon Dance get set up, don't find out if he has Iron Head. Not worth the damage. Play Rough would not have done much. I'm not gonna. That one's kind of a hand wave away hacks, right? We're going to see another Thunder Wave come out, still trying to buy them turns. I think, though, that Thunder Wave was probably predicting, like, a Hisuian Samurott to come in. I think it's pretty ballsy that we had Zach go for the Wish there. Hisuian Samurott is going to come in as a Chilly Reception comes up, and Keldeo is going to follow up. I like this move or I don't know how I feel about this move by Zach here. He's going to stay in, eat that Aura Sphere, hold on with the Focus Sash, and get off a Cecil's Edge. So we do have a Spike Up. I think that's important just to kind of limit the effectiveness of Galarian Slowking, but I think Zach would probably admit he would have been better off if he had gotten more damage on this Keldeo. I don't think the Spike comes into play too much going forward. Justified Boost is irrelevant. Now we're going to see the Tornadus come in. It's going to take almost no damage from this Aura Sphere. We're going to say that is because it is Assault Vest, is what we're guessing. Look, he's going to come in, take a little bit of damage, but he gets in for free, like I was talking about. That's what you want those. That's what you want those Thunder Waves to do. Psychic's going to come out and do big damage to this Iron Moth. Great play there. Let's see a U-turn come out. Torn's going to come in, and Chilly Reception out. Dakota's in kind of a commanding spot here. Beartick is going to outspeed everything right now. And see that Icicle Crash go up. So you see it did 37 there. That means it would have done around 75 to 80 if when he was Swords Danced on turn 3 or 4, whatever that was. Would have really put a hurt on this Darkspawn. So let's continue. So now he's going to Swords Dance up in front of this Darkspawn, and he does get the free para there. I don't know what Darkspawn is necessarily going for here, but I don't know. We'll keep an eye on how much like a Play Rough damage is not going to do a lot, maybe 20% due to the Snow Boost. So let's just kind of see how much damage the Beartick takes going forward, right? Icicle Crash, gonna take out the Darkspawn. Soon Samurot's gonna come in, Sucker Punch. Unlikely that the Play Rough damage would have made the difference there. He's gonna pick up the KO with a nice safe crunch. Iron Moth's gonna come in, fire off a Flamethrower. Very safe KO. So that's why I'm gonna say that Play Rough miss didn't matter. Or I said Play Rough miss. I don't know he's going for Play Rough there. He could have been going for Wish, which also I guess changes the calculus, right? Keldeo's gonna come in, fire off a Flip Turn. Yep, I mean, at this point, he's in a pretty solid spot, but he's just kind of guaranteeing himself some plays here. Para on that turn does kind of stink, but the Bleakwind Storm follow-up there, if he hits both of those, the Salamence is gone, but I do think at this point, the game is pretty well won for Dakota. There's definitely some hacks in here, but I don't know how much meaningful hacks really played in. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, well done, Dakota. He had mentioned to me just a couple hours earlier in the day, like, hey, I've never beaten Zach before. And then he comes in, and Zach, with, I think, an important amount to play for, Dakota comes away with the win and hands Zach a loss. So let's head back to this sheet here and update the schedule. So that was a, right here. It's a loss, 0-2, it's a W, 2-0. Let's see how that affects the standings. So, obviously, another loss for Zach puts him in not a great spot. Now, any of these 3 teams that gets a win is gonna be able to, stay ahead of him. He would, if he wanted to get a first round bye at this point, he needs all the teams to lose. But interestingly, then, if all the teams lose, then that means Kyle would get a win and tie his record, and then he actually does have a tiebreaker over him, so he would jump up quite a bit. Although I think most of those teams, I don't know, I guess it'd be only 2 teams. Yeah, we'd have some interesting tiebreaker conflicts if in a world where all 3 of these teams lost, then we'd have 5 teams at 4-3. Something to keep an eye on, but Dakota gets the win. Doesn't make too much of a difference because even in the event of a 3-way tie here, he isn't going to have the Peru record to stay ahead of Joel, unless Joel, no, it's not even a joke. I was going to say if he loses by like -2-2 or something, but that's, doesn't even make any sense. Oh no, I didn't reframe this. There you go. Now you can see what I was talking about. These 4 teams could if these 3 teams lose, right, then that means Kyle would get a win, which means we'd have 5 teams all tied in record. That's what I was referring to. Dakota gets another win, but does not move him up in the standings, even in the event of a 3-way tie. Sorry about that. So, our next game on the schedule that came out is going to be Ishii versus Brett. So let's look at the implications here. With a win, Ishii can move to 3-4, which should obviously push him above Joel, but assuming Joel would lose. So if Ishii wants to avoid relegation, he needs to both win and have a Joel loss. I guess also a Kyle loss do anything for him, because then they both have the same record. He could be above him. Yeah, I guess but then I'll revisit that at the end, because I guess there's a world where like Ishii wins. It's like, let's say Ishii wins, he's 3-4. Kyle loses, he's 3-4. Ishii has the tiebreaker over him. He could jump up. So that's what he needs. He needs a win and then a Joel loss, or a Kyle loss, but not a Joel win and a Kyle loss, because that forces a 3-way tiebreaker, which he actually comes out on the bottom of. That's messy. But we can kind of switch over and examine the game. I did just realize that we didn't talk about what this means for Brett. If Brett gets a win, that obviously puts him at 5-2. He doesn't have a guaranteed tiebreaker over Mike, so he's not guaranteed the 1 spot. Unless, like, if Mike loses, then like Brett with a win would get a first round bye. Even if Drew also were to get a first round bye, he holds the tiebreaker over Drew, so he kind of edges him out. Mike, if both Mike and Brett were to get a win, then that pushes Mike above Brett. But if Drew also gets a win and we're at 5-2 across the board, then we go to a Peru tiebreaker. Right now, Drew has the edge there. There we go. Now we can get into the game. So here we've got Brett's team taking on Ishii. I mean, right off the bat, obviously the big threat here is Bonsley. See Bonsley, we know that, Bonsley's only designed to do a couple of things, and by gosh, do we get to see him here. On the other side of things, we've got a Regenerator core, we've got a Hard Hitter in PZ, we've got the Palmont, Lurantis, like lower tier mons, but that can be threats. Let's hop into it. The biggest thing we don't see is Mamoswine. I had the advantage of both of these guys sent me their full teams before this game, so I was able to, in the moment, kind of predict what was going to happen, and this Klefki was like designed to deal with Mamoswine. And Mamoswine wasn't there, so it became less valuable, but in that, like, it freed up Brett of how he wanted to play it, because he didn't have to save for the Mamoswine. So let's hop into things. At the leadoff of Incineroar versus Ogerpon, obviously gets the Intimidate. This is an obvious U-turn out, and he sees that he takes Rocky Helmet here. So, bad news is that he took damage. Good news is that he knows this Incineroar can't recover HP and is going to be susceptible to hazards. Incineroar, did we see it in a metagame? Yeah, we saw it in a metagame without heavy-duty boots. Even back then, Intimidate Incineroar is a fantastic pivot. So as long as you can keep hazards off the field, Incineroar can really be a threat. In this game, I do think it's doesn't have the best matchup. It can kind of annoy this Ogerpon, but it can't take too many hits from it. So let's hop through this. So Will-O-Wisp comes off first. That's huge. Maybe it's not huge. I guess Sandslash is not a key part, and what he needs to do is just kind of get up hazards and maybe try to keep hazards clear as much as he can. So he does get up the hazards there. That's great. Gonna go ahead and knock off the Slowking. That's always a good thing. Future Sight goes up. Brett's team is not equipped particularly well to deal with Future Sight, so as many Future Sights as Ishii can get floating out there, the better, right? Cyclizar is going to come out, take a little bit of damage, but no damage from the rocks, so he knows his boots Cyclizar. Go ahead and knock off the Sandslash first, keep it from recovering. Brett goes for Stealth Rock there, predicting the Cyclizar to just go for spin and then get the Stealth Rocks back up. Not a bad play, especially considering that the Future Sight's coming out here. I think, obviously, in hindsight, he would have liked to try to go ahead. I guess, would Rapid Spin? Yeah, that was a good play, because it guaranteed at least he'd have Stealth Rocks up the end of this turn, but he is obviously going to get KO'd by the Rapid Spin here, and it's going to clear rocks. Bad news for him, but he is just going to go ahead and get up another Spike. Thunderwave's going to come out, blocked with Kilowattrel. Hurricane's going to do a decent amount of damage, so that play right there was obviously predicting either one of three things: Cyclizar or Lurantis or potentially Palmont. We'll talk more about Palmont in a minute, but Brett goes, look, if he's just going to let me damage this thing, I'll Volt Switch and get a bunch of damage off, right? There's a Future Sight in the air, he's got to watch out for that. He's got Klefki teed up to deal with it. And he's going to take a Scald. Thankfully for him, not get burned. Thunderwave's going to come out, Slowking's going to dodge it. Not the end of the world. It's not a bad thing for him. So at this point, he's obviously going to... We get Ishii coming into the Incineroar to block another Thunderwave coming out. Brett's going to get a little bit of damage with the Thunderwave. Not much, but that is unrecoverable damage, because unless this Incineroar has Drain Punch, because this isn't Leftovers Incineroar, so any damage on it is permanent damage. He came in and he took a Spike, and he took a Flash Cannon, so he lost 22% health on coming in on a resisted hit. Not bad. Paldean Tauros is going to come out, going to be able to take any hit pretty well. It takes the knockoff, loses the Choice Scarf. Normally that'd be really bad, but looking at these Mon's speed tiers, he no longer outspeeds Palmont. A little bit of a problem, but Kilowattrel should be able to check that pretty well. Doesn't outspeed Cyclizar, but also not a huge problem. He just has other things that can check Cyclizar pretty well. So honestly, I think this is a good thing for Tauros that he's freed up. He's not he's not stuck with a Choice Scarf. Something Brett's going to want to watch out for, though, is he has this Intimidate Tauros, and there is a Lurantis in the back, so he wants to be careful about not giving Lurantis that boost, right? So Slowking's going to come out, take the Spike, take Close Combat. So between the Spike and Close Combat loses 42%. He can no longer, this is now in Close Combat KO range. Brett doesn't even have to predict. He can just attack what's in front of him. Nothing else wants to take a Close Combat. Frees Close Combat of his life. He's getting a kill here no matter what, and he gets it on the Slowking. That's, I think, pretty big, seeing as how it frees up Tauros for the future, and it also means that he doesn't have to worry about Future Sights going up anymore. So Porygon Z is going to come in, and we're also going to see that it's not adaptability, it is download. So, Brett already knows a couple of things from this. Well, he knows that it's download. He knows that this isn't boots, so what he's suspecting is that it is Choice Scarf. That's why you'd bring in Porygon Z. I don't remember how long it took him to do this in the real time. I don't remember him sitting here waiting for it for a long time. So typically, this is something you can kind of try to read into. Oh, I didn't reframe this. There we go. Sorry about that. So typically what you can do here is if somebody real quick goes into their counter, okay, this is planned. If they took some time to think about it, I'd start to think maybe this Porygon Z is not Choice Scarf. But I think this happened pretty quick. So Ishii's kind of bluffing Choice Scarf here. Gonna force the Tauros out. Klefki's gonna come in as the Psychic goes off. So, this Klefki, not specially defensive at all. This Porygon Z has a boost, and he's also Wise Glasses. So, what I can tell you about this is Wise Glasses, the +1 special attack, resisted hit, and he's a timid nature, not a modest nature. So that damage is going to pretty much mimic modest Scarf damage. So Brett doesn't have enough information yet to know what's up with this Porygon Z. He's going to get a little bit of Leftovers recovery so he can avoid dying this turn. But a Thunder Wave's going to come out, and it's very important that it said that this doesn't affect Palmont. That means that Brett knows that this is Natural Cure Palmont, not Volt Absorb. He can fire off electric moves with a lot more freedom now. I don't really get the Natural Cure. I feel like that may be just an oversight in planning. Or I guess he might know it's Iron Fist too. He could potentially be Iron Fist. But that does give Brett information. So Agility comes out. Maybe a little bit of a concern for Brett. But less of a concern is this Baton Pass into Porygon Z. This could be a problem for Brett if he, depending on what comes out. So just Brett's still, right now he's thinking potentially he's thinking, this is Scarf Modest Porygon Z. Nothing outspeeds this. If he can KO the Klefki, he's also going to get the special attack boost again. If he can KO the Klefki, this is super bad news, right? And we get the full para, unfortunate. But he is managing to get off the Thunder Wave, so now this is basically neutral speed Porygon Z. We see a Nasty Plot come out. Now he knows it's not Scarfed. Now he knows that this is, at best, 306 speed Porygon Z. He has things he knows can outspeed that. Disaster averted. Tri-Attack comes out, is going to KO Klefki. Now the big guns come out. Bonsly hits the field. So, Bonsly obviously has Sturdy, right? There's not really any way that Brett can play around this. He either has to give up these boosts on Porygon Z and go into something that is still going to take a very minimum of spikes damage, and this Bonsly is going to have his Sturdy still intact. He's going to go for the Psychic, knock this Bonsly down to Sturdy, and a Flail comes out, KOs the Porygon Z. I think most people probably know what Flail does, but I'll just say it here. Flail is a normal type move that increases in power as your HP goes down. So I believe it's 200 base power when you're at between 4% and 1 HP. I believe that's the window. I'm not gonna check it. I think that's it though. So gets a KO there. That's big. You know, that's Porygon Z's down. And now the bigger thing is this Bonsly has Custap Berry. I would say Custap is probably, let me think. Custap is my favorite berry in the game because of this reason. This Bonsly is below 25 HP. It's at 1%, so that means Custap Berry is going to activate on this turn. Cyclozar doesn't get priority. We're going to see Terra Normal Custap Berry activate. Flail gets the KO. Custap Berry, for those of you who don't know, Custap Berry allows you to move first in your priority bracket. So it basically means you have infinite speed for that turn. Obviously, priority can still overtake it, but you're going first in your priority bracket no matter what. So that gets Bonsly gets 2 KOs, stops a potential, a bit of a sweet potential from Porygon Z. And Logan's got to eat 2 trees. I think that's the only explanation. Cinera's going to come out, pick the bones here, knock off the Bonsly, just get it out of there. Ogerpon can come in, get an Ivy Cudgel off. At this point, it's kind of easy to deal with. Lurantis going to get U-turned on, take a bunch of damage. Kilowattrel's going to fire off the superpower, get the boosts, but it's not going to be enough. We're going to see a raw Terra Blast come out. Going to be able to take out the Palm, 2-hit KO the Palm out. Lurantis can't speed. This is Scarf Lurantis. This isn't dunking on Ishii, but just I want to give my thoughts on Scarf Lurantis because I have seen it from other players in the past, and I think Scarf Lurantis is bad. The fact that it hits like, 311 HP, or not HP, 311 speed after a Choice Scarf, it's very slow. It doesn't even I don't think it outspeeds even like base 100s that are like max speed. I don't think it's good. His idea was he was gonna baton pass an agility to it, but you still even need the baton pass agility plus the Choice Scarf to be able to outspeed like a Choice Scarf Tauros. Like you need all of that. It's not good. That's a big gripe I have against Lurantis. Again, this isn't like dunking on Ishii for bringing it. It's more against the set. And I think this is we've seen a couple of like baton pass teams in the past. This is going to be the end of Ishii's season here, so I guess I'll give a little bit of a wrap up on it. Baton pass, I don't think is an effective gimmick. I think if you lean too much into it, it's super easy to plan around. If you don't lean enough into it, then you kind of don't have all the, it's not strong enough. Like, And also Palmont as a baton passer, I don't know that it's the best. It's hard to say for, like, I don't think there's a great baton passer. There's like the easy ones that you don't really need to think about, like Volbeat and Ninjask and like, you know, stuff like that. But baton pass, particularly baton passing agilities, I think is a difficult thing to use to great effect. Key here, Brett comes away with a 3-0 win. Let's go plug that into the schedule here and kind of see how that affects things. So, win for Brett, catapults him up into the lead here. So, Brett currently, based on that, has the #1 overall seed. The things that threaten that are, if both Drew and Mike win, that turns it into a 5-2. And then Drew with a win would obviously win at least 1-0, which would put him ahead in the Peru race. It'd be really cool if Mike won 6-0, Drew won 1-0, and then we went to a Opal tiebreaker. That'd be fun. Not the case. Spoilers. It's just very unlikely. Just get a 6-0 win here in the last game of the season. That does put Ishii down here at 2-5, all but guaranteeing him moving out. Actually guaranteeing that he move out, right? Yeah, guaranteeing that he is relegated at this point. So at this point, Dakota's relegated, Ishii's relegated, Joel can't miss playoffs. None of these guys can miss playoffs at this point, even though they still have games to play. At this point now, it's just seeding. The only thing that's locked in, really, is Joel is locked in at the 6th seed. Yeah, because even if he wins, Kyle's got the tiebreaker. So that's all that's guaranteed right now. These, 6 through 8, locked in. Everything else can kind of shift quite a bit. So we'll see where that goes. Moving on to our next game, which I believe came in to be Mike versus Kyle was the next game in order. So let's see what is up for grabs in the standings there. Kyle with a loss doesn't move. He stays where he is. Kyle with a win, he could potentially move, I believe, as high as 3rd seed. Is that true? Yeah. If Kyle were to win this game, he moves up to the 3rd seed. He would then end up playing Joel. If he loses, he plays Zach. Zach's already played. That's not moving. He can't pass Drew because Drew has the tiebreaker. So that's really all that's kind of up for grabs in this game. So let's dive into it. So starting a team preview, we have the iconic fairy type Pokemon in the league, Florges and Sylveon here. You got honestly 2 iconic dragons in Dragapult and Latios. We have 2 grass type Pokemon that exist in Bramblegast and Chestnut. I don't need to go into it more. Let's hop into the game. So we got the Bramblegast lead versus the Chestnut. Shadowclaw comes out. Now it's odd to see Shadowclaw on Chestnut, but all things considered, that would have been his only way of doing decent damage to Bramblegast, so I don't hate it. Hoopa Unbound's going to come out, snag a burn. Not great, not terrible. If this is a mixed Hoopa, that kind of limits it, but good chance Hoopa's special, very strong on the special side too, and we do see... Okay, so it's going to take the discharge. You see Shadow Ball come out. That didn't do a lot of damage, that discharge. This might be AV Hoopa. I don't know if we see it switch moves. So we'll find out. But Sylveon's going to come out versus the Florges, and we're going to see the Florges try to pass a wish to this Rotom Heat, but it's going to get taken out by this Hyper Voice. I believe... I didn't run a calc. I don't know what the investment on Rotom is. I would imagine that unless this is an offensive Sylveon, Hyper Voice won't KO a resisting Rotom Heat from that range. So we're going to operate on the assumption that this is Choice Spec Sylveon. Kleavor is going to come out. It's going to miss the Stone X. Unfortunate. Spiky Shield's going to follow up here. I guess... well, never mind. We'll talk about it later. So he's going to U-turn out, do, respectable damage. Shadowclaw's also going to do, honestly, decent damage there. But it's going to force the Chestnut out. Bramblegast is going to be able to take out the Hoopa with combinations Seed Bomb and Shadow Sneak. Really well played there. Because if this is Scarf Hoopa, you don't want to risk anything. Why not just pick it off the Shadow Sneak? Here comes a potentially questionable play. Staying in to get Shadow Sneak damage there. I don't know if that's your best move, but I don't hate it. There's a good chance Kyle has a tendency, I would say, to over-predict. So he could have just gotten that Shadow Sneak damage essentially for free if this Dragapult had just U-turned out. There's the chance that could have happened. Kyle, I think, is known for over-predicting. And worst case scenario, you get off 62% damage against Dragapult. It's pretty good. We're gonna get the Florges come out here. It's not and okay, we do see that it is U-turn, so it's not choice. We get a crit on the Moonblast. So that crit doing 45% means that a non-crit Moonblast is probably doing in the range of 30%. We're gonna keep that in mind. Hyper Voice comes out, does 53% to Florges as we see a Psychic Noise come out. So at this point, I think that Psychic Noise coming out is trying to block a potential Wish from the Sylveon. I don't think Mike had sorted that this was offensive Sylveon yet. That's a way to keep the Sylveon weak, right? So I think good call there. But in hindsight, bad call, because now you see this Hyper Voice did 53%. You know for sure that is offensive. You know you've made a mistake, and he's gonna go ahead and protect, get a little bit of leftovers. I think that's smart. That's a good move. And then we're going to see the Gastrodon come out, basically being sacked to this Sylveon. He's got to sack something at this point to Sylveon. And that's what he decided to go with. Kleavor's going to come out. Chestnut has been tailor-made to be able to deal with this. X-Scissors is going to follow up, not do a ton of damage. Kyle is going to try to like Leech Seed, Spiky Shield. Ends up not working out. Latios is going to get the KO there. Latios is in a great spot here. This is pretty easy for him to just click a Psychic move versus a lot of stuff. And if he can't pick up the KO, then it's a problem. So Donphan's gonna come out. So at this point, I just assumed that he would spin. That made a lot of sense to me. He went for Ice Shard. Not a good play. I think he should have spun on that turn. I don't think there's any reason to go for Ice Shard there because it's not gonna KO Lottie. Lottie is unlikely to KO you from where you were at. I think he should have just spun here. It would have, we're gonna see how much spin does on this following turn. We're gonna see Rapid Spin does 16% on the turn that this came in. So it also still wouldn't have KO'd, but it would have done 3% more damage. His Florges at 8%, then it would have gotten the leftovers, would have been at 12%. He actually could have followed up with another spin, which would have KO'd the floor, just prevented it. He would have had to protect, and then you have to go for an Earthquake, but that's not a huge deal. Okay, sorry about that. Had to make a call. Where was I? All right, the downfall. Kyle goes for the Ice Shard there. Like I said, I don't think that's a good play. You're going to live a hit from Latios. Rapid Spin, get rid of these rocks. Put yourself in a better position because you're faster. You can even follow it up with another Rapid Spin or an Earthquake. Sure, Lottie might come in, but at that point, then you can go for the Ice Shard that you're so desperate to go for on turn 23, right? So Rapid Spin doesn't pick up the KO. And look, maybe that's a roll. Maybe that he just got bad luck on that. But now he's going to switch out to Sylveon, which is another play I don't like. I think you could have either gone for another Rapid Spin there or just gone for Earthquake. I think take this guy on, right? It's like you don't really win this 1v1, but this Donphan I don't think is doing a ton of good for you. I mean, maybe it's a Kleavor check, but I don't love that. But Sylveon coming in isn't the end of the world, because we know that this Florges cannot 2-hit KO you, because unless it gets like another crit, right? So he's got to do another crit to 2-hit KO you. So let's just fire off Hyper Voice. You're either going to terribly weaken this Florges and force it to Wish Protect ad nauseum, or you're going to get the Lottie KO or the Kleavor KO, right? You see a Draining Kiss come out. This is not a good play, because it's not a 2-hit KO. And granted, you get some HP back, but you're still kind of not in a great spot versus this Florges. And this Florges went for Moonblast, so that means if you'd gone for Hyper Voice, this thing's living on single-digit percentages and not getting up a Wish on this turn. And now you get the special attack drop. You're in a terrible spot. 2 Hyper Voices, even the first one being full power, second one with a special attack drop, still would have KO'd the Florges. So now this Florges gets to live because you went for that. Now switch out, this Florges is getting back to full health after a Wish Protect. Really bad because now you don't have a good way to deal with this Florges. Sure, go ahead and knock off. That's why it was okay to go for 2 Rapid Spins earlier on. Crit followed up doesn't matter that much, let's just be honest. See, now we get the Hyper Voice come up, but now it's too late. This Florges is too healthy. Shadow Ball, not able to pick off the Florges. This Florges is wrecking the team. Now, at this point, Kyle is in a suboptimal spot. Like, this sucks for him. We're going to see him Terra Blast Ghost to get rid of the Florges. I don't know what his other moves were. Maybe he's trying to bluff like a Scarf or Band or something. So I'm kind of surprised to see him Terra right away. I think I might have held off on that. So maybe, because you could just kill the Florges like with a regular Terra Blast, honestly. Latios is going to come in. He's going to go for the Sucker Punch. Man, if he was Terra Dark, that would have been good, right? Terra Dark, Sucker Punch, not gonna be able to KO him. He's gonna go down to the Sash on the Shadow Ball, and then get another Sucker Punch off. Get the KO there, and Terra Blast there. So I'm surprised no Cell Rock. Would a Cell Rock have done it? Let me think. Cell Rock's 40 base power. Stab means it's 60. Super effective means it's 120. Terra Blast, I guess being Stab comes out to 120 as well. Maybe it fudges with the rolls a little bit, but very short. It comes up just shy on the Cleavor KO. Very good, but I'm sorry. I gotta just say, Kyle, I think you choked Sylveon by going for Draining Kiss. I don't think you played well with that Donphan versus the Florges. I think you let that Florges get out of hand. You got 3 KOs there at the end. I think you gotta take KOs where they're offered to you. And Kyle goofed there. I think Mike did a really good job of playing to his outs. Kyle choked the game to him, but it's real easy to be like, oh, I'm in a bad spot, and someone chokes and you can't pick up the ball and run with it. And Mike did that. So kudos to him. Don't want to take anything away from him. Let's head back over to the sheet. So here's the updated schedule. We got Mike with a 1-0 win. Let's head over to standings and see how that shakes out. Can I make this look nicer? No. That's nicer. Let's do that one. So at that point, Mike gets a win, moves up the boards. Right now, like, if Drew loses his game to Joel, then Mike actually has the #1 seed because he has the tiebreaker over Brett. So that's pretty big. Kyle is now locked in at that 5th seed. These guys are all solidified. Drew is now playing for a first round bye. If he can get a win, it forces a Peru tiebreaker, gives him, I think, the #1 overall seed, if I'm remembering this right, because we have a rock, paper, scissors situation. CSW, MAR, WAS. Yep. So if he gets a win, we got a rock, paper, scissors situation. It goes to a Peru tiebreaker, unless Drew only wins 1-0, in which case Brett has the #1 seed, because even though it's a 3-way tiebreaker, the Peru would then be tied here between these two. We can really just look at a head-to-head matchup between those guys, because we don't need to go to the Opal there. But if we did, Brett also wins the Opal in addition to having the head-to-head. So there you go. Hopefully all that made sense. If it doesn't, that was all theoretical anyways. So let's head into the final game, which I guess by default makes that the marquee match of the week. Hang on, guys, bear with me. I didn't edit this part in, so just let me whoop. I'm not I guess I could have paused this and cut around to this, right? Here it is, guys. No technical difficulties.
Marquee match of the week. Now we have a theme.
Okay, there we go. That's our marquee match of the week thing. And here's the game. Let's talk about it. Okay, so just so you know, I've just rewatched this match to take some notes on it, and maybe not super deserving of the marquee match of the week, let's just say that. So we get Uxie versus Infernape, U-turn for pretty good damage, Stealth Rock Scope as Fortress comes in, easy Rapid Spin to clear. Metagross comes in, actually, to take the spin, and That's not a great idea, because it's unlikely that this Metagross is actually going to be able to do damage to Fortress. He realizes that, going to switch out into Blastoise, take a little bit of damage from the Volt Switch, but not much. Thundurus easily, I'm going to slow this down a little bit, jeez. Thundurus easily going to scare out the Blastoise. Terrakian's going to come and take this Thunderbolt and take big damage. Drew switches out, suspecting that this is going to be a Choice Scarf Terrakion. And probably right. I don't know if we end up seeing it confirmed, but Fortress is going to come up, take that hit, and get up his own hazards. Heavy Slam, not actually going to be able to do any damage really to this Blastoise. Hydro Pump going to do moderate damage to Fortress. But it's actually going to heal back pretty much because of that Hydro Pump, so that's fun. Metagross is going to come in. So this is, we find out later, but I'll say it now. It's Assault Vest Metagross. Not taking too much damage, which is good, because it's kind of the only thing he has to kind of deal with that that Lottie, and also that Thundurus, so that's a problem. Metagross unable to get the KO on Fortress. And then we're going to have the Galarian Weezing come out on this Dusclops as it Terra's Ghost. Now, I spent some time thinking about this. Dusclops is not very strong. This is unlikely an offensive Dusclops. I'm just going to say that. I'm not calking. I refuse. Terra Ghost Poltergeist does 37%, which admittedly is decent damage to a Galarian Weezing. But I guess this is the only thing that he brought that is legal to Terra. I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to check right now. Yeah, maybe I should check. Draft. Where is Fortress on? There it is. He could have brought, but Drew doesn't change his Terras. He puts them at the beginning of the season and leaves them. So this is the only thing that could have Terra'd, but obviously he wanted to keep his Ghost type, and Stellar. It's not a great option, right? So he goes with Ghost. That way he can still block Rapid Spins should it come up. And it does a little bit more damage to Poltergeist. I guess, you know, it is what it is. Thundurus is going to come out as the Toxic Spikes go up. Now, let's examine Toxic Spikes. It's good against Dusclops. Probably not good against Clefable because of the... it's likely Magic Guard. Thundurus isn't touching the ground. Latias isn't touching the ground. Fortress is a Steel type. So it's really only good for Dusclops and Infernape. So I just don't think Toxic Spikes was really the right call here. If you really think you can't get past Dusclops, then maybe it is, but I think you can get past Dusclops. Let's just say that. Uxie's going to come in, and it's going to, you know, good job blocking the Psychic there. That was good. And then we're going to see it switch moves, go for Volt Switch. This obviously is not Choice Thundurus. I don't know if we ever end up seeing an item. Could be Heavy Duty Boots, could be AV. But now the Stealth Rock's go. Now this is important, because we never saw an item on Fortress. We know it's not Leftovers. I don't know if yeah, things made physical contact with it, so we know it's not Rocky Helmet. It's probably Heavy Duty Boots. We don't know that for sure. It could be Custap or something. I don't remember if it made a attack below there, so could be something like that. If it's not Heavy Duty Boots, that means this Fortress is dead. Those Stealth Rocks killed this Fortress. That's a big deal. So just something to keep an eye out on. I think it's important for people to, you know, be able to note those sorts of things. Like I said, I bet you this Fortress is Heavy Duty Boots, so it probably won't die, but also it's slower than everything else here, and everything else can kill it from the range it's at. This is a dead Fortress, and rocks stay up forever. Gonna get a U-turn from Dusclops, doesn't want to take the Poltergeist, goes into Blastoise as a Will-O-Wisp comes out, and then Hydro Pump goes off, does a decent amount of damage, Poltergeist comes out, and it doesn't work because he ate a Citrus Berry. So I think Citrus as your like just healing item over Leftovers is not very good, but I'll be damned if it didn't come into play here. Citrus Berry made a difference here, because if he had had Leftovers, sure, he would have healed more over time, but he would have taken more damage from that. He would have taken damage from that Poltergeist. And then it got blocked there. Drew didn't even think about it. He just fired off a Poltergeist. So good for Joel for getting around that. He's going to go for flip turn. I probably would have just stayed in. I think this is a risky move going into the Terrakion here, because we did see him fire off a Will-O-Wisp just the other turn. But he's able to pick up the KO with Stone Edge. Latias is going to come in and gets crit there. So now another important thing. This Latias is dead, right? You come in with something faster than Latias. This Latias can't switch out because it took Stealth Procs as it came in, so we know it's not Heavy Duty Boots. We talked about how this Fortress can't Rapid Spin. There's 2 dead Pokemon. Joel's actually up 5-3 right now. And he doesn't do a good job putting his boot on the throat. So here, we got Darkrai coming in. Now, Darkrai's got a couple of things it can do. It can try to set up. That would be operating under the assumption that this Latias is like Choice Specs or something. We know it's not Choice Scarfed because the Terrakion outsped it. So it could be Choice Specs. It could just be I don't know, what's that? Twisted Spoon or something. Could be Dragon Fang. Who knows? Could be Expert Belt. There's a lot of things it could be. But I think it's okay to stay. I think there's an aggressive move is to click a setup move. A conservative move is to Sludge Bomb, because Sludge Bomb will hit everything left on the field, hits your likeliest switch in Clefable. Fortress can come in and take no damage from it, but it might either die to hazards or you can just follow it up with another KO, and it KOs the Latias. That's the safest thing to do. What is not a safe thing to do is click, hold on, where is it? Psychic. Don't think Psychic's a good move to click here. You had to click Sludge Bomb if you had it. If not, you should have had Sludge Bomb on Darkrai. I'm going to say that right now. A lot of people say Darkrai is not actually a good Pokemon. We can actually lower it. I think it just hasn't been used well. I really think it has a lot of upside and it's just not being used well. If this is a Sludge Bomb from Darkrai, it's doing double that. It's doing like close to 60%. And that means it's an easy follow-up KO right afterwards. Because we also see this Clefable is going to take poison, or doesn't take poison damage here. So that means it's Magic Guard. It's not unaware. He could have, I think we see Calm Mind later. We'll talk about that. If he'd clicked Calm Mind, he could have come in and, like, this Clefable should be dead. This Clefable would have been dead if he clicked Calm Mind into Sludge Bomb. His Fortress is already dead. This Latias is dead. This Infernape has to come in and be Scarfed to be able to deal with the Darkrai at that point. And Darkrai's in such a position of power. Joel's closer to winning this game than he realizes. But he's going to go ahead and switch out into Weezing. Take the Moonblast. This Weezing is not looking good right now. He's going to protect a little bit. Oh, this is going to Moonlight. This is going to get a little bit of leftovers recovery. Going to Calm Mind. I think we get a Pain Split here. Yeah. Which is good for Weezing. But I think what this does reveal, the fact that he switches out here, reveals that this Weezing doesn't have a poison. He's not able to actually do any damage to that Clefable. You see the Latias faint there. See the Thundurus come in, also not Boots. So I guess leaning more toward the idea that it might be Assault Vest, right? This Weezing's going to go down though. After a Protect, just kind of stalling out turns. The big turn of the turning point of the game is coming. I guess the deciding point. This Darkrai's going to come in. Darkrai's going to come in, and he's going to go for Calm Mind. Now, don't hate this. I think this is actually super big, because if this Thundurus doesn't have Focus Blast, or has Focus Blast and misses, then this Darkrai is actually set up in a pretty good spot. Granted, the Infernape's also in a very good spot here, but we're going to ignore that for a second, okay? So let's just pretend. But he does get hit with the Focus Blast, because I think I don't hate that Calm Mind play. I think that was an all-or-nothing move. Maybe he could have forced a switch. Who knows? I don't dislike that Calm Mind play. I've already talked about the mistakes I think Joel made. Metagross is going to come in, and at this point, everything's just going to get swept by Thunderbolt. There's nothing really standing in the way. Thundurus is going to close out the game with 5 consecutive Thunderbolt KOs here. And well done to Drew. I don't think Joel, I think showed some promise this season. Granted, I guess he's only got 2 wins and one of them was a forfeit win. But I do think in a lot of his games he showed reason, like you saw the reasons why he was able to get promoted. He's not a bad player by any means. Just the North's brutal, okay? North's tough. So that's gonna wrap that up. Let's head back over to the other sheet. So here you can see the final schedule. We got Drew with a 4-0 win. We can hop over to the standings. And we can see 3 5-2 teams. And Drew with the best Peru out of there wins the Peru tiebreaker. So this ends up being the order. Drew with the first overall seed. Brett with a second. Mike is going to have a game with Joel to close out the, I guess close out, I was going to say close out Joel's season, but that's not true. I mean, Joel could win. I don't know why I said that. So, and then Kyle versus Zach. That's a fun rematch. Kyle got the win last time. Let's see if he can do it again. Knock out Zach. Zach has looked mortal this season. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for being patient with me and not being like, hey, get out my damn podcast, because it's a lot. We have ideas for what we're going to do for next season. Things are in the pipeline, just wait. We also kind of see what becomes of Pokemon ZA, because that could also throw a wrench into things. But I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you all for supporting what we do here. And I didn't get to talk about it, but we did just pass last week, probably about a week ago from this recording, the 10-year anniversary of the ABL. We crunched the numbers. Over 1,200 games have been played over the 10 years of the ABL. Honestly, it's kind of wild that we've done as much as we have. I just want to thank you guys for being a part of that. That's all I got. See you next week.